Welcome, everybody, to WiseTake.com MMA DFS podcast. I'm your host, Jeff, aka Wigsplitter, aka Wiggy McWiggleson, coming at you with another UFC fight night on ESPN. You can find me on Twitter at JFPO. If you look down in the description section, you'll be able to see all the different social media sites you can follow us on. Twitter, Instagram, they're all linked down below. Before we get into this week's action, if you followed my picks last week, Chan Sung Jung scored 114 points at 7,600. Randy Brown scored 99.5 or 96.5, one of the two, at 7K. And then the only fighter that didn't do so well was Kevin Holland, but he fought the basically half the fight with a dislocated shoulder. He scored 59 points in his win. Basically, Alessio Di Chirico shit the bed and didn't do anything that third round and basically gave the fight away. Before we get into the action, let's go over some quick advertising. If you're not already a WiseTake.com subscriber, head on over to WiseTake.com, pick up an MMA single event pass for $4.99. You'll get access to the premium article that I write with a full fight-by-fight breakdown with my cash or GPP suggestion, access to the 24-hour-a-day, 7-day chat room, and then either a live stream the day of the event, which is usually for pay-per-views, or a pre-recorded podcast similar to this one, going over the entire fight card in depth, and I'm usually available all the way up until lock of the event, through all the different medias you can get a hold of me through. If you're not already, if you play other DFS sports, we offer Major League Baseball, NBA, PGA, NFL, NHL, PGA, NASCAR, as well as esports. They're putting out some great content over there in the esports section. You'll get written articles by all of our experts, premium access to the VIP Slack chats, and access to all the projection models, strategy sessions, and live streams on the website. It's the biggest bang for the buck, $24.99. Go ahead and pick up yours as of now. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you know when we put out all of our other free content. And let's get right into this week's action. This is Francis Ngannou versus taking on Junior Dos Santos. I'm going to start in the main event. Francis Ngannou is the guy that I want to target for GPPs. He has a high upside of potential of 100 plus points. I'd say 95 to 100 plus points. At 8,800, if that happens, he's definitely going to make value, if not exceed value. There's potential there that he could be in the higher ownage percentage, which is I'm guessing in the 38 to 48% range. But he definitely does have the risk versus reward associated with the type of fighter you want in GPPs. He does have a big ceiling. Taking on Junior Dos Santos. Dos Santos is definitely a live underdog at 7,400. His skill set, his technical boxing, his striking can keep him in this fight, as he did in his previous few fights, especially if you look at the Tai Tuivasa fight, where even though he did get battered by a few of those power shots by Tuivasa, he was able to use his experience to circle away and jab his way to a victory against Tuivasa. The only thing is that if Ngannou is able to hit Dos Santos with those same similar type strikes that Tuivasa did, there's potential there that Dos Santos goes nighty-night. He goes sleepy sleep. So I like Ngannou for potential 100 plus point potential. to start your lineups off, your GPP lineups off. And then the next fight I want to concentrate on is one of the first fights of the night, is Maurice Greene versus Junior Albini. I will pick a sack of potatoes against Junior Albini almost every time. Maurice Greene has showed that he's still developing as an MMA fighter. He does have a lot of kickboxing experience, so he's a solid striker. He does have sneaky submissions for a heavyweight. I just have a feeling that he's going to be able to pick Albini apart, potentially get some kicks to the body, soften him up, and then get him up against the cage and maybe land some elbows, and then getting him down to the ground for a potential late first round, early second round TKO stoppage. So if that happens, he's definitely going to score. If it's in the first round, it's going to be 90 to 115 points. If it's second round, he'll score in the 90 to 105 point range. So at 8,200, that's definitely a great start to your lineup. And then the last fighter I'm going to start for GPPs is definitely an extremely risky pick, but there is high risk versus high reward. But the ceiling for point scoring isn't necessarily there. I like Paul Craig going up against Alonzo Menifield for GPPs if you're building multiple lineups. 7,200, he definitely has the boomer bust mentality. The only thing is his ceiling is capped by the amount of striking he does, because he does spend a lot of time in guard or on the mat, and when he is on the mat, he isn't necessarily very active. But at 7,200, if he's able to squeak out a win, which is potentially there, Menifield is still developing as a fighter, and Menifield sort of has a little bit of bitter taste in his mouth, because in Paul Craig's last fight, he beat one of his teammates, Menifield's teammates, in man, I'm gonna murder his name. Let me read it. Inze Chukwu by a third round submission. This is a tough task though for Paul Craig, because Menifield is definitely a better athlete, more. I think he has faster speed, more power than Nzechukwu, but Paul Craig does what Paul Craig does, and that's what he takes care of prospects. They always throw him in there against prospects, and either he has a shitting the bed performance, or he literally will upset everybody. I think this is potentially there, but keep in mind this is extremely risky. And there is a low ceiling, but at 7,200, if he's able to make value, that's definitely what you want from a value play. So that's the 3 fights that I'm picking for this week for your lineups, your GPP lineups. At 86, and if you use these 3 fighters, you will have 8,600 left over for your lineup. If you use my lineups, the fighters to start your lineup out last week, other than Kevin Holland, who dislocated his shoulder in the second round and fought a round and a half with a dislocated shoulder, he only scored 59 points in his win at 8,800. Chan Sung Jung at 7,600 scored 114 points, and Randy Brown scored 99.5 points at 7K. So that's a fairly decent start. If you pivoted off of Kevin Holland to anybody else within that price range, you had a decent amount of money to play around with your lineup. You had a solid base to go with. So that's what I have for this week's 3 free picks. As always, make sure you drop us a like. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. Riley KO, I did go back through a couple of the old contests. I did see you. Some of your scores were actually higher than mine, so I appreciate you shouting me out. I look forward to seeing you in upcoming contests. If you are open to picking up an event pass, hit me up in the chat, and we can chop it up about MMA. I love talking MMA. As always, let's have fun and let's make that money. Be safe out there.